There isn't a man among my acquaintances who doesn't think I'm the happiest man in the world. The reason is my wife, Barbie. It's absolutely amazing, but she is the walking, talking embodiment of the #1 selling doll of all time, Barbie. Barbie is exactly like her doll namesake. She is a gorgeous blonde who embodies every man's fantasy of the perfect woman. She is tall, elegant, with a creamy complexion, an almost permanent smile, and deep violet blue eyes that would put Elizabeth Taylor to shame. She even has the same proportions as a Barbie doll, 5 feet 9 inches tall, 110 pounds, with 36-inch breasts, a 22-inch waist, and 33-inch hips. She even has a body mass index of 17, just like Barbie. Her body looks like it was sculpted by Michelangelo, not Mattel. Heads turn whenever she walks by, both male and female, and the stares from beneath her eyelashes are relentless. We can't go anywhere without someone whispering when we walk by, and the effect she has on weak men is comical to say the least. I once saw a man do a double take while looking at her and hit a lamppost, and scowling women shoving their husbands in the ribs with their elbows to get them down to the ground is also commonplace. The effect it has on people is both amazing and comical, and the amazing things she can do in bed can be talked about endlessly. I should feel happy when I roll over in the middle of the night and put my hand on the most amazing woman in the world. But I don't. You see, I have a problem. Barbie may be stunning, but she's also a chronic cheater. It's not that she's an evil person, she's just weak, and she's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I'm closer in appearance to Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars, but what I lack in looks, I more than make up for in intelligence. My IQ is so off the charts, it's impossible to measure. I got my first doctorate in the same 4 years as every other undergraduate. After that, I got 2 more. I am now working on my Juris Doctor degree, my first law degree. I may be over-intelligent, but the most remarkable thing about me is that I don't seem to have any moral boundaries. Most people refer to what I lack as ethics, remorse, or conscience. But I like to think of them as flaws. Without them, anything is possible, and I mean anything. I'm not constrained by the worry that this or that business deal I'm working on will leave 100 people out of work. I'm also not concerned that someone getting in my way might end up in the dumpster. As long as it makes money for the person I'm working for, so be it. Oh, and the person I work for prefers it to be that way too. He also prefers to remain anonymous in all business transactions. He sets the goal, provides the resources, and gets out of the way while I make his dream a reality. To date, I have not let him down in any way. A lot of what I've done wasn't exactly legal, but my employer has been satisfied, and that makes me happy and also very wealthy. I think that's one of the reasons Barbie loves me, or says she does, because I have more money than I can spend in 2 lifetimes. And as I've heard it said of a real Barbie doll, that bitch has everything. Everyone in my world knows that I absolutely adore my wife. My love for her is absolute, and I can't imagine life without her. I have a heart for her and gift her with anything she desires. She has her own personal jewelry consultant at Tiffany's. We have gone on luxurious vacations all over the world, spent time in palaces and on secluded islands. There were times I even bought a whole truckload of stuff so she could have the one thing she always wanted. Everyone also knows that she is 100% off limits to anyone and everyone. I don't mind the occasional dance or two, but when some doggy starts sniffing Barbie, my hand goes up and down. But I can't be there all the time, and sometimes the dogs manage to get between her long, dainty legs. I think I've learned about each of them, but there are too many moths flocking to her flame. And they all have one thing in common. They're all dumb as hell, and now they're dead as hell. I don't want to put a harness on Barbie. It would break her spirit, and I love her too much to do that. I'll never be able to put cameras in every room of the house to watch her 24 hours a day, or implant some kind of GPS tracker in her so I always know where she is, or tattoo off limits on her forehead. Either way, we're together most of the time, but when we're apart, usually because I have to go away on business, I just have to trust her. All the other men in the world I don't trust. And the few times she was unfaithful to me, I dealt with her decisively, once and for all, finally. Like I said, Barbie is not the sharpest knife in the drawer. She's sweet, good-hearted, and well-meaning, but she just doesn't understand what's going on around her. For example, There was a nice middle-aged man living on the next street over who was building a new house and was always sitting in his Mercedes watching the workers at work. He saw Barbie, talked to her, and started hanging around while I was doing my business, and before he knew it, he was inviting her to swim in our pool. Of course, Barbie went with him, and if you've ever seen Barbie in her tiny red bikini, let me tell you, it will make your tongue stiffen. Before I got home that evening, the middle-aged asshole gentleman had time to enjoy my wife's charms. How do I know? We have a nosy maid, and she saw them, in her words, doing nasty things on the living room furniture, which I will now have to clean. I think she was more concerned about having to clean up after him than Barbie's infidelity. A few days later, he and I had a little talk, and he made a wise grin about my manhood. I just smiled back at him and wished him a good day. 2 days later, he had an accident while sitting in his car watching the construction of his house. Apparently, a load of paving stones accidentally fell off the forklift as it was being lifted up and crushed him and his crappy little car into a 2-foot-high pile of scrap metal. A month later, I bought the unfinished house from his widow at an undervalued price. Barbie never learned anything about his unfortunate accident and never came to visit me again to bathe or pamper my wife. That's how I dealt with Barbie's other shenanigans, definitively. One day over drinks, one of my so-called friends asked me if it wasn't cheaper and wiser to get rid of one unfaithful wife than a whole host of her lovers. I answered him that I could not get rid of one rose just because its thorn pricked my finger when I touched it to smell it. I loved her not because she was the epitome of beauty, but because she was an innocent woman-child. I could never lift a finger against her. And while I was saying all this, I noticed a slight expression of contempt on his face. It took 2 months, but eventually I found out that my so-called friend had been having fun with Barbie in our bed that weekend while I was on a business trip. He, too, had been injured in a fatal boating accident. But the more I thought about his words, the more they gnawed at me. Barbie was incapable of understanding her marriage vows, and every man and maybe every woman who wanted her could have her. She loved me, but separated us from the men she slept with. I had to find a way to make her realize the pain it caused me every time I had to put up with someone she had slept with. My first thought was psychotherapy. I found a therapist who owed me a favor and brought him up to speed. He agreed to start sessions with her and discuss with her what she was doing and how it was affecting our marriage. But before they started, I took a few minutes to casually explain to him what I would do if I caught him and Barbie together sexually. I think he heard me because he behaved in a completely professional manner, seeing Barbie twice a week. After 6 months, he left, saying she couldn't figure out what she was doing wrong, no matter what approaches he tried. Okay, so I tried psychotherapy and it didn't work. Now I had to do it my way. I found an opportunity about 3 months later when our maid complained to me again that some man had soiled the new blanket on our bed. I decided to make Barbie put a stop to it once and for all, so I went out of town again on business, or so I told her. Sure enough, some blonde-haired young man who looked like Adonis drove up in a beautiful red Corvette while I was sitting in my car on the next street over working on my laptop. I only had to wait 20 minutes for the van to pull up, and after it parked in the driveway behind the Corvette, I went inside to surprise my beautiful wife. And I did surprise her. When I entered our bedroom, I saw my naked wife lying face down on the bed with Mr. Adonis lying on her back. He was so engrossed in his occupation that he didn't notice me approaching with a baseball bat, although he did notice when I hit him in the kidneys once, and so did Barbie. He flew off the bed and ran out the door, leaving his clothes behind, and I swung the bat at his head and missed. Barbie ran into the bathroom and locked the door. She didn't come out while I was in there. I followed Blondie outside and passed the men in the van just as they were closing the doors and locking things up. The Corvette was gone, and so was Mr. Adonis. We all smiled and went our separate ways. I was gone for a week. I didn't call Barbie and she didn't call me. She knew she was in trouble and I just let her simmer in her own misery. When I came back, she just watched me while I did my evening chores and bought myself a drink. I sat on the edge of the pool with my feet dangling into the water and waited. I knew she would eventually come out to see what I was going to do, so I just sat, drank, and waited. Sure enough, an hour later she came out in her tiny red bikini and with her drink. She didn't say anything, just sat quietly on the edge of the pool and waited for me to explode. I never exploded. Barbie, I'm offering you two options, I said with a calm, nonchalant look. The first is that you leave this house tonight and I'll file for divorce in the morning. I can guarantee you'll get nothing but what you brought with you when we got married. Our prenup will take care of that. And since I have excellent lawyers, you can take it to the bank. Your second choice is to stop dating every man in the world, except me, of course, and continue to be my wife. You don't realize how much pain you cause by sleeping with other men. Not just me, but those guys. You're hurting a lot of people, and it has to stop now. She lowered her beautiful feet into the water and looked at me. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't think I was hurting anyone. We were just having a little fun, that's all. They were all so nice to me and flattered me all the time. I just wanted to be nice in return. I guess I got carried away a few times. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I shook my head and sighed heavily. Barbie, I don't believe you can stop on your own. Your psychiatrist couldn't make you realize that what you're doing is wrong, and I don't think my simple words can convince you. You're just incapable of understanding. If you weren't here with me, married to me, you'd probably be in some brothel from morning till night, making everyone in the world happy and having a little fun, as you call it. No, you need something to make you stop. And I have just the thing. We both sat in silence and waited for the second shoe to drop. Barbie, come with me, I said, getting up. We went to the library and I told her to sit in the chair in front of my computer's big monitor. I inserted the flash drive into my laptop and got ready. Barbie, I want you to watch a little video about what happens if you ever sleep with anyone again. That's what happened to your last boyfriend. Ken? After an incredulous pause, I said, Oh, Barbie, you're kidding. Ken? His name was Ken? Yes, Ken is my personal trainer. But Ken? Yeah, why? He's a nice guy. Oh, Barbie, you're just a piece of work. Anyway, watch my little video. I got up, closed the door, and hit the start button on my laptop. A car recycling scene appeared on the monitor, with a red Corvette on the platform and men standing around laughing and pointing fingers. After a few seconds, a blonde head peeked out from inside the small car and looked around. His eyes widened as he saw something that left him utterly horrified. He tried to get out but could do nothing to open the doors. As he moved and struggled, a second platform came down from above and stopped at the top of the rail car. It stopped for a second as Ken looked up, realizing what was happening. It moved down again, and the top of the wagon collapsed downward, the posts sagged, and the glass shattered. Ken's head was hidden under the failed top, and there was a scream. The top platform continued to lower, the doors bent outward, but the screaming didn't stop. As the car halved, the screaming stopped, but the upper platform continued to shrink. The platform stopped, and the little red Corvette became 12 inches high. Men standing around watching the scene said hello to each other and rolled around on the ground laughing as the piece of red metal slid off the platform into a pile of scrap metal from other old cars. The video ended with Barbie staring at the screen with eyes wide with wonder. For a long moment, neither of us uttered a word. Ken was in that car, Barbie said innocently. Yes, he was, Barbie. And you put him in there. All the men you've slept with since we've been married have met a similar fate. Either they've been in a boating accident, or they've been hit by a driver, or they've accidentally fallen from a 20-story building. Every man you've ever slept with outside of marriage has had some horrible accident. I've seen it all. Ken is just the latest. That's what happens to your boyfriends. They all die. She looked at me with the most puzzled expression on her face. But I don't understand. You said all the men. But your brother is still alive. He was at our barbecue last week. My brother Barbie? My God, you slept with Robert too? Well, it was a long time ago, a week after we got back from our honeymoon and you had to go to Montreal for a couple days. He said he was just welcoming me to the family. He was nice to me. I like your brother. Shit, now I'm... You're not going to hurt Robert, are you? She asked, looking at him with eyes wide as saucers. I can't let him get away with it just because he's family. No, don't hurt him, pleaded Barbie. He's a good man. Maybe you can do something different, something where he doesn't end up like Ken. Maybe, Janice. Maybe you can do something about Janice. He loves his wife. And if you do something to her, it'll hurt him too. Just don't let them end up like Ken, please. Anything else?" I looked at her as she sat back in the chair. "Is there anyone else I don't know about?" I growled. "I don't know about anyone," she said as she hung her head. "Barbie, now that you know what's going on, you have to ask yourself one question. When am I going to stop getting rid of your boyfriends and decide to get rid of you?" An acquaintance of mine suggested that it's easier to get rid of one unfaithful wife than it is to get rid of dozens of your boyfriends. At some point, I might consider it. Right now, I still love you and want you to be my wife, but don't push me. If you do anything like that again, I will seriously consider it. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. Forgive me. It won't happen again. I pulled the small flash drive out of my laptop and threw it on the floor. I stomped on it like a little red Corvette and tossed it in the trash. Barbie and I walked back to the pool without saying a word. Her face was sad and her mind was spinning with new thoughts. I could see it. She was trying to realize something important. I could only hope she was seriously considering my promise to get rid of her next time. We picked up our drinks and dipped our feet back into the pool. We sat and drank and thought, and the only sound was the crickets in the azalea bushes. "I've been thinking," Barbie said, breaking the silence. I knew the next words out of her mouth would be about our future, her destiny, and what I had promised. Our marriage was hanging by a thread, and so was her life. "Is that what they mean when they say I fucked someone to death?"